Welcome back. This is Adam, and today we've got another humanity F-yeah story for you. In this one, the galaxy thinks humans are nothing more than harmless colonists, until they find out what we've really been hiding. Let's get into it. The chamber of the Galactic Concord wasn't a room. It was a city folded into an echo. Galleries soared like canyon walls, tier upon tier of delegates watching from alcoves that glittered with bioluminescent sigils and cold starshine pouring through a ceiling of living glass. Ambassador Ria Tanaka stood alone at the center dais. They looked down at her, scaled, furred, faceted, vaporous. Some bodies bent in ways no human spine could tolerate. Some didn't have spines at all. What they shared was the same expression, the polite contempt of an empire certain of its own gravity. Archon Saval of the Third Dominion leaned forward on four jointed forearms, amphibian skin glistening azure beneath the lights. "Human ambassador," he said, voice smooth as oiled stone. 17 systems in 50 years. Your kind expands without restraint. It ends now. Ria's voice stayed even. Honored Archon, we have settled only unclaimed worlds, no sapients displaced, no flags torn down. A harmonic rasp rose from a ringed dais. Brood Regent Kex of the Maya Conclave rippled her antennae. The translator rendered her clicks as a cool whisper. Unclaimed. Until claimed by those worthy of them. You breed fast. You eat much. You will starve others. A pillar of refracted light stood and walked. Lumen Admiral Varix of the Silicate Accord, a being of interlocked crystal lattices, let starlight run through his body like blood. Your hulls are crude. Your weapons are archaic. Yet you metastasize. We offer trade, mutual defense, and knowledge, Ria said. We want what any civilization wants, peace and dignity. Laughter sweated down the tears, not cruel in sound so much as in temperature. Councillor Seraph Eth of the Velari Arum, an elegant being contained within a veiled pressure sphere of slow-moving gas, extended a sleeve of swirling vapor. We have studied you, mammal. Scavengers dressed as pioneers. Archon Saval gestured, and the floor bloomed with a volumetric map. Red human colonies pricked the spiral arms like a rash. This is not unguided diaspora, he said. This is conquest by increments. Ria watched the pattern. Aggressive, if you wanted it to be. Honest, if you knew the logistics. Resource light years, habitable ranges. Any species would choose similarly. Any species would ask permission, said Admiral Varix, prisms humming with disdain. Any species would respect the Concord's mandate. Silence rolled over the chamber like a thaw. Saval lowered himself back into his cradle. The Concord decrees thus. You have 72 hours to withdraw to your cradle world, return to Earth, remain in Sol, fail, and your colonies will be removed. Ria felt the air thin. Millions of civilians, cities, farms, hospitals. You are ordering an extinction in all but name. We are ordering compliance, hissed Brood Regent Kex. Refusal invites correction. Admiral Varix's facets twinkled with a smile that didn't belong on a face of angles. The combined fleets of 12 member states will ensure enforcement. It was decided. It had been decided before she walked in. You're making a mistake, Ria said. Saval's throat sacs fluttered with amusement. Your kind fields fewer than 100 warships. The Concord commands thousands. Yours are scattered. Your technology lags by decades. What mistake is possible? You assume you know what we can do. Councillor Seraph Eath's voice rang like glass chimes. There are no surprises left in you. The display shifted. The Concorde fed the room comforting footage. Human ships flying straight, firing simple plasma and slugs, built like honest tools, dying like honest tools. Rhea found a small, cold smile. 72 hours, the Archon said again. More courtesy than your species deserves. Rhea turned, walked until the room thought it had seen her leave, then pivoted back and lifted her chin. You want to know what humans are capable of? She asked, voice clear and soft. What 50 years in the dark taught us? She let the beat breathe. Congratulations, she said. You're about to find out. She did not leave like a diplomat. She moved like someone who had worn a mask for so long. Her face remembered the weight of the teeth beneath it. The doors closed behind her. The session continued. The feed went on to 1 billion screens. In orbit, aboard her courier, Rhea opened a secure channel and sent a message 2 words long. It did not ride public relays. It tunneled through things the Concorde did not know existed, blooming in brief, invisible flowers across jump lines and hidden pairs. Asterion Protocol. Across human space, sleeping systems opened their eyes. On Port Armitage in the Eidolon Reach, Captain Jonah Myrick stared at the 2 words and felt the floor shift under 30 years of hopeful denial. He pressed his hand to a blank section of office wall and a seam appeared. The slab slid aside to reveal a control nest that had waited politely in the dark. Above him, the placid mining spiders began to fold. Panels retracted. Tool arms became barrels. Conveyor belts paused, then reversed, feeding ore toward furnaces that were not for smelting. On Keone Station, terraformer Diana Walsh, hair back, sleeves rolled, still watching the Concorde broadcast in a tiny muted window, entered codes she'd been told she would never need. Atmospheric stacks exhaled. Harmless towers unfolded hidden petals. The wind sang through new teeth. On Titan, under Sol's honest light, Dr. Annika Dar, chief of xenology, gathered her team beneath the ice in a lab no Concorde survey had ever found. We finish it, she said, calling up profiles that had been updated every hour for 20 years. Theer, hierarchical confidence, stabilization bias, over-reliance on centralized doctrine. Silicates, straight-line cognition, latency penalties in reconfiguration. Velari, superiority schema, thin skin to humiliation. Weapons were not just things that exploded. Weakness was a shape you could trace with a fingertip. In the hidden dry dock, hollowed out of Vesta's bones, director Samuel Idris watched green lights march across an impossible board. The name Asterion had been simple because the plan was not. 50 years of deceit had purchased what honesty never could. Surprise. For half a century, humanity had told the galaxy a bedtime story about itself. We are new. We are harmless. We are grateful to be here. We are bad at war. The Concorde assembled its cleansing flood. The Silicate Accord sent Admiral Varix with 300 ships that gleamed like daybreak. The Third Dominion pledged 200 hulls with bellies full of plasma. The Mere Conclave and Velari Arum and a dozen lesser banners added teeth until the formation filled an entire tactic page with certainty. They flew like they were being watched because they wanted to be watched. 2 kilometers off Varix's flagship bow, a shadow matched a shadow. No light, no reflection. Mass as whisper. Lieutenant Ari Calder sat in the whisper knife, staring at a display of radiant arrogance. "Command, this is Knife 1, they murmured. "Parade formation confirmed." Broadcasting doctrine like a shopping list. Across human space, ships like the Whisper Knife reported in from the seams between things. The Concorde had assumed humans could not see what they could not see. Humans had assumed the Concorde would assume that. Back in Seoul, in a cramped room with coffee rings on the console, Dr. Maya Kwan of the Xeno-Behavioral Institute watched the live feed and nodded along like she was hearing a song hit its chorus. "Dominance displays," she told her staff. "Grand formations, open channels, ultimatums. This isn't strategy. It's theater. They aren't fighting us. They're performing for each other." In the hollowed heart of Serin 3, an asteroid that had pretended to be just a rock for a century, Admiral Neela Soren stood before a transparent slab showing the paths of friends and enemies. "All squadrons," she said, voice low. "We do this clean. We do this quiet. We do not gloat." Behind her, 1,000 meters of stone split along invisible seams. Doors the galaxy had never seen opened. Ships that did not match any human silhouette on file slid into the dark. "Concorde Fleet," Soren broadcast when their shadows had taken their places. "You are trespassing in human-protected space. Withdraw immediately. This is your only warning." Admiral Varix let his facets flash. "Human, you are outnumbered 3-1. "Only if you can count us," Soren said. The human ships moved. They did not form a line. They did not trade broadsides. They broke into packs and spirals, fainted, vanished, reappeared where math said they could not be, laid hands on weak places, and were gone before the harm had a name. Captain Hana Ruiz took the Reckoner and 4 knives against a Concorde battle carrier, twice her ship's tonnage and 10 times its pride. "Attack pattern Delta," she said. "Not at the armored heart, at the eyes, at the wrists, at the ankles." The carrier tried to bring its main guns to bear, but pride is heavy, and pride swings slowly. Within minutes, the grand ship was blind, deaf, and breathing through a straw. "This cannot be," the carrier's commander transmitted, voice glassy with disbelief. "Our vessel is superior." "You built it to fight itself," Ruiz said. "We built ours to hunt." Everywhere, the same story. Commander Ryan Holt let his fighters run in wolf packs, chewing sensors and soft joints. Concorde pilots answered with beautiful textbook flying against an enemy that didn't show up in the book. Archon Saval watched a hopelessly complicated tactical display resolve into one terrible word. "How?" he demanded of Marshal Gurak, a scarred Thur veteran at his side. "They are not engaging," Gurak said slowly, like someone tasting a new metal. "They are hunting." "We are apex predators," Saval snapped. Gurak watched human trajectories braid through his fleet like handwriting. "We were." The Concorde still had unbroken icons, among them a third dreadnought named Immutable Radiance, a ship with guns big enough to affect tides. Its commander, Warlord Jarek Thal, had never lost. He ordered a focus of fire that would have gutted a lesser foe. The human ships did not flee. They drew closer, just outside the main battery's best ranges. They took teeth away one at a time. Point defense stilled, dorsal mounts silenced, ventral blisters plucked. Then the human signal came, calm as a glass of water. "Surrender." "Barbaric," Jarek hissed when the second signal arrived. "Prepare for boarding." Hooks kissed hull. Torches wrote soft blue arcs. Human boots bit into third-deck alloys. Sergeant David C. led his squad through maintenance tubes the ship's architects had never intended for war. The Thur were big and strong and beautifully drilled for stable, open-field battle. Humans did not give them a field. They gave them corners and smoke and a dozen attack angles, then changed all 12. The bridge did not fall to a charge, it fell to a switch. The air thinned. People made of pride opened doors, because oxygen democracy does not recognize rank. How? Warlord Jarek asked when the humans stood in his sanctum. We studied this class for 30 years, C said. We know where you hid your ghosts. The surrender of the immutable radiance went out live. On gentle worlds, children watched brilliant adults realize they were prey animals after all. The Concorde tried to run. The humans had already drawn the net. Ships bloomed from behind moons and out of cold shadow, and, impossibly, where there had been only vacuum a moment before. Admiral Soren's voice came back on the open channel. It wasn't loud. It didn't have to be. You came to our homes. You don't get to leave. The retreat became a rout, and then a ritual. The humans did not annihilate. They bled formations, broke chains of resupply, let survivors flee loud enough for everyone to hear them scream. Captain Oliver Vance took the Prometheus Bastion and a pack into the Riel Drift and stole an entire convoy intact in 17 minutes, then left the convoy's escorts alive enough to talk on every band at once. Fear outpaced ships. In the Concorde chamber, panic leaked like gas. Allies blamed allies. The Veilari demanded ceasefire. The Silicates withdrew to defend their prism warrens. Smaller polities sent very quiet messages to very private human addresses. Archon Saval went to the air again, face a deeper blue that meant stress in his species. People of the galaxy, he said to 1,000 worlds. Humanity is a threat to civilization. They fight without honor. They strike without warning. He waited for the roar of unity. The roar did not come. A murmur did. 3 member states declared neutrality within the hour. Others issued cautious statements about miscalculations and unexpected asymmetries. Fear is spreading faster than our drives, Dr. Angela Foster reported from a facility buried under Vesta's pitted skin. Veilari pride cannot metabolize humiliation. Silicates don't trust anyone after the Radiance debacle. Saval's going to do something stupid to look strong. He did. The order he signed sent the Kaidan Bastion, a fortress on Kaidan 7 that the Concorde called impregnable, into high alert and dared humanity to test it. Colonel Malik Osei accepted. He did not assault. He landed 50 kilometers away and built a camp like he had more time than history. Then his people cut power in a few places and mumbled into the fortress at weird hours and fed its sensors phantoms in the shapes of nightmares. The walls creaked because humans made them creak. Voices came from vents because humans put them there. No one fired a shot. In the morning, Kaidan Bastion surrendered to silence. The feeds played the lowering of shields to lullabies. The galaxy had assumed human units were acting with local initiative. That was true the way a fingertip acts with local initiative when you scratch your nose.
Beneath Titan's ice, Dr. Anika Dar stood in a room with 1,200 screens and one mind. Her analysts absorbed telemetry, psychology, whispers, pebbles in streams, the angle at which a captain tilted her head 3 days ago before she lied. All forces, she said across a web of channels that did not technically exist. Concorde Reinforcement Group moving on Vagus Gate. Task Force 7, intercept and neutralize. 12, fold to Deneb Fringe and block egress. Wing Alpha, begin harassment in the Cestus Vale. Things moved, not ships, organs. The Concorde watched and understood something too late. Humanity wasn't fighting as nations or commanders. Humanity was fighting as a body, millions of decisions shaped by one long attention. 7 days started to feel like 7 years to people living inside them. When the humans arrived over Aurelian Prime, the Concorde's last stronghold, General Patricia Wells didn't speak of bombardment. She opened every screen on the planet's network and played truth until it hurt. Surrenders in sequence, officers crying without sound in low gravity, Theia soldiers stacking rifles while human marines counted softly. "You have 1 hour," she said. "Not because we need it, because you do." When the hour ended, Colonel Yara Quinn walked to the gate with 5 soldiers and knocked. "Terms," rumbled General Corex, a third giant with a wall for a chest and history for shoulders. "Inside my fortress with 5? I have 10,000." Quinn tapped the device on her belt. Every third screen, helmets, consoles, lavatories, blossomed with the same human sentence. "Systems under external authority. Resistance is futile." "Terms are simple," Quinn said. "Surrender and be treated with dignity. Refuse and meet the version of us you've been trying to summon all week." Aurelian Prime surrendered. It surrendered like a cathedral kneeling. The war ended not with a bang, but with a lesson. When the Concorde reconvened, the chamber smelled different. Some fears have a scent. Ria Tanaka returned to the same lonely dais, this time with people at her shoulders. Admiral Nyla Soren, Dr. Anika Dar, Director Samuel Idris, the ones the galaxy would name, and the ones it never would. Archon Saval looked like a creature whose ocean had been boiled off. "What do you want?" he asked. "Our unconditional surrender? The dissolution of the Concorde? Tribute? Slaves?" "None of those," Ria said. "What we wanted 8 days ago. Peaceful coexistence. Trade Dignity Counselor Seraphith found words first. You humiliated us on 1 billion screens, and now you offer peace." "Not rule," said Director Idris, bringing up a new map, this one without red dots. "Order. The Concorde can remain. Cultures remain cultures. But some rules are non-negotiable." Admiral Soren spoke quietly and made everyone cold. No predatory wars. No exploitation masquerading as guidance. No ultimatums against people who can't stop you. "If you cannot coexist, you will deal with us. You know what that means." Brood Regent Kex trembled, a violin string plucked by fear. "Overlords by another name." Ria's smile wasn't kind, but it was honest. "Overlords take, peacekeepers guard. We watched you for 50 years, the way you pressed your knees against those who couldn't push back, the way you called it culture. You mistook patience for inability. That was your first and last mistake. The galaxy turned. Enemies who had bred hatred for centuries found themselves in rooms with human mediators who refused to leave until a table had 2 winners or no one. Trade snarls older than some stars unfouled in a week. Frontiers became boundaries, became lines on maps that meant something besides where to bleed. When the Varathi clans decided to test the edges of the new order on a pastoral world without ships, human cruisers appeared where math said they shouldn't, and invited the Varathi admiral to consider his next 10 years in a very small room. He considered. He surrendered. In Seoul, Dr. Maya Kwan founded the Institute for Intersapient Psychology, and her first publication went everywhere. "Humans are persistence hunters," she said on every frequency.
We evolved to follow, to sweat, to narrow options until there was only one left. Threaten our territory or our people, and you trigger instincts older than tools. But we are also pack hunters. We guard what is ours. We share with what is ours. The galaxy is ours now, insofar as we have chosen to protect it. If you join the peace, you are ours. 100 polities signed, some for love, some for fear, most for the quiet comfort of not having to look over their shoulders every time they harvested grain.
Some called it conquest through trickery. Some called it justice with teeth. Most called it life, which had improved. Rhea stood once more in the chamber, now fuller than it had ever been, because people who had never been invited were invited now. "The old order is done," she said. "The strong will not feed on the weak. The many will not erase the few. Anyone who tries will discover why we earned our reputation." The last image in a long week was not a ship or a surrender. It was children in a park in Sol, laughing under a yellow star. They played games that involved chasing and catching and letting go. They learned rules and broke them and learned better ones. They fell and were lifted and ran again. Rhea looked out at a starfield that would never again feel quite as lonely. The galaxy was quiet in a new way, the quiet of teeth bared at the dark. Humanity would keep that quiet, because that's what apex predators do when they finally come home. They do not own the forest, they keep it. And everyone inside it learns the same simple thing. If you do not burn the trees, the wolves will let you pass. Thanks for listening. This is Adam. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. Humanity isn't done surprising the galaxy yet.